Hey friends, today I'm bringing you another how-to video to help you explore endlessly, play wildly, and connect deeply. This how-to is on crow hold or frog pose as they call it in calisthenics. Now, this is the foundational hand balance movement if you're interested in learning handstands or any other hand balancing. We have to learn to balance our weight on our hands, play with counterweight and where our midline is. And it's just a nice way to start to build core strength and proprioception as to your body in space and using your hands to balance in space. So I'm gonna do a rep here or take crow for you, and then I'll break it down. Hands land, tip forward, fingers are my brakes, bring toes together. So number one thing I want you to think about is you need to get into your hands. This is the biggest thing that people miss, is they think that they're just gonna be able to put their hands down, lean into their hands, and their hands are gonna support them. Hopefully, but probably not gonna work. You need to use your fingers as brakes and almost pressing down through your fingers to the point that your fingertips turn white. So if you try that, you can pause this video, put your hands down, push into your fingertips, your knuckles will lift slightly, your fingertips turn white. That's how much you need to be pushing into your hands. So that is your foundation. Next up is lifting your hips nice and high so that that counterweight is up over your hands. So my hands go down, my hips go way up. I start to tip forward, and this is where most people start to think about fear or go, oh, I'm afraid I'm gonna fall on my head. So what I want you to do is lift one foot at a time. So my hands land, lift hips high, look long, push hard, shoulder blades apart. I lift one foot, and then I tip forward, keep looking long until you find that balance point, hips over hands, lifting that foot. Once this foot starts to de-weight, bring your toes together, check out my fingertips, pushing hard, keeping my shoulder blades wide, looking long, core engaged, and bring it back down. So key ingredients, lots of load in your hands. Core is obviously engaged, hips are nice and high, and your shoulder blades are wide. This is another thing that people miss, is that they let their shoulder blades draw together. I'll show you what that looks like here. It's really hard to get that foot up and feel strong and feel like you're not gonna fall on your face if your shoulder blades start to draw together. So I want you to push, keep that pressing motion and that strength in your shoulders, your chest, and your triceps. So once again, that checklist: load hands, push hard, shoulder blades apart, lift hips high, connect your big toes, keep your gaze long. Hands land, hips high, shoulder blades wide, one foot. Second foot starts to de-weight, I'm looking long. Fingers are your brakes. Keep breathing. And bring it on down. So with crow, I'm frequently asked knee position. A lot of people have learned and grow accustomed to hugging their knees to the outside of their arms. It's not wrong, it's just a different approach. And in yoga, this is actually very common, and people see it and then they tend to adopt this variation. It works, but eventually what's gonna happen is your knees are gonna slide down your arms. It's inevitable. If you think about bone stacking, anatomically aligning a body in a stable position, we need to stack our bones. So you can see here in this side view, ankle, knee, elbow, hand are all lined up. So if I stack my arms, my forearms, and I come forward, hands, elbow, knee, and hips are all stacked. So not only am I stacked anatomically, I also have bone stacking to start to play with, taking a knee off, going into single crow. This isn't doable if I'm hugging my knees into my arms. I have to go and stack my legs on top of my arms in order to play with those variations. Now, let's say you're just not getting there. Let's say the confidence isn't really clicking for you. You're like, man, I'm gonna fall on my face, I know it. I'm gonna fall on my face, I know it. I don't want you to fall on your face, so I want you to use a yoga block. You could use a cushion, and I don't want you to grow too comfortable with this tool. But it's a nice way to find that counterbalance I speak of with your hips being up over your hands, is you can use a block and really lightly let your head kind of land on that block. So I set up, make sure I have some space, hands, shoulder blades, hips are nice and high, I'm looking long, and then there's that counterbalance point, but the confidence just isn't there. You could land your head, lift the foot, push through your hands to lift up off the block, maybe back to your feet. You try again, lift your toes, look long, land the head, push through your hands, and eventually you find that counterbalance place where you can almost move around a little bit and come back to your feet. But once again, I don't want you to grow too confident and too comfortable with the block. Eventually, you have to take it away, have to use your hands as brakes, be comfortable in loading your hands, pushing hard, adding movement, playing with, knees off, whatever else comes down the road, must move the block and get to full body. Cool. So that's our crow. Hopefully you're finding some connection there. And yeah, enjoy. See you next time. Peace out.